Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Tessa Keogh, and on behalf of the Guild of One Name Studies, welcome to the last webinar in our 7 Pillars webinar series and our last webinar for 2018. We've hosted this monthly webinar series on the third Tuesday of the month, and more information about the previous topics, as well as links to the recordings in this series, can be found at the Guild website. Our topic today is all about the Guild, and we thought we'd have a panel available to provide information and answer your questions about some of our member services and benefits. First, we'll take a short tour at the Guild website to point out how to navigate it and find us on social media. Then I'll mention a few things about the Guild Journal so you can see where you can find it and find out about reading it online. Then we'll discuss the Guild's milestone, our 40th anniversary, and let you know about the events planned for 2019, specifically the upcoming conference AGM in March 2019 and Guild seminars planned for 2019 and 2020. Next, if you've thought about going back to school to learn more about One Name Studies by taking either the Introduction or the Advanced Pharaohs courses on One Name Studies, we'll give you some helpful information. Then we'll introduce the theme for our 2019 webinar series, mention some volunteer opportunities, and finally answer any questions you have about the Guild. Now, normally I host this series and introduce the presenters, so I'm going to go ahead and start with myself. I joined the Guild in 2009, registered my Keogh surname in 2013. I'm currently the USA West Regional Representative, the USA National Representative, and a member of the Marketing Action Team. That's the group that works on marketing and publicity materials and puts together the webinar series. Alan R. Morehouse, and he currently serves on the SEM subcommittee. They plan and present the quarterly seminars that provide terrific guest speakers on a variety of subjects. Each one is theme-based. We've heard one of the best aspects of the seminars is the chance to get together with other Guild members and visit. For those of us at a distance, we can watch the recordings, which is really helpful. Another opportunity for meeting and networking while learning is the annual conference and general meeting. The 2019 conference celebrates the Guild's 40th anniversary, and I'm sure that that's going to take up a significant amount of Alan's free time. When Alan is not volunteering with the Guild, he works on his Farmery One Name Study. You can learn more about it at Alan's profile at the Guild website or at the Farmery One Name Study website hosted by the Guild's Members Website Project. Julie Goucher joined the Guild in 2002, and she has 3 One Name studies. I'm hoping they're very small studies because otherwise she appears to be a glutton for punishment. You can learn more about her studies at her profile page at the Guild website or at either her Butcher One Name Study website or her Orlando One Name Study website. Those are both hosted by the Guild Members Website Project. And most of you know that Julie is also the Regional Representatives Coordinator as well as a member of committee and secretary. So she wears a lot of different hats. She can answer many of the questions you might have today. Now, if you have questions during the presentation, please add them to the Q&A box shown on your dashboard, and we'll be addressing them at the conclusion of the presentation. There are several handouts today, and you can go to the handouts section of your dashboard and download them anytime during the webinar, but I'll also have them on the Guild website after the recording is up if you missed them today. And with that, let's get started. We're going to talk about navigating your way around the Guild website first. Now, the Guild has over 2,900 members. We're approaching our 40th anniversary. We're a nonprofit based in England and Wales. We have members all over the world, and it's an entirely volunteer-run organization. We publish a quarterly journal. We host an annual conference and general meeting. We host quarterly seminars and monthly webinars. We engage in social media with a presence on Facebook, Google+, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And we maintain a mailing list and forum for members who prefer not to engage on the social media channels. Now, how do we make sure that our members all over the world learn what's going on, get their questions answered, ask for and receive help with their One Name studies, and get the most from their membership services and benefits? Well, we provide you with our online address, and we ask that you visit us because your first stop should be one-name.org. There's so much available on our website that sometimes I understand it can be a bit overwhelming, whether or not you're a member. Anyone can use the website without logging in, and you'll see what any visitor to the website does. However, if you're a member, your key to opening all the doors at our website is simply to log on. Once you've logged into the website, you'll see the drop-down menu that runs across the top of the page and all of its parts or tabs. The drop-down menu is your roadmap to help you navigate our website. Now, every effort has been made to keep things simple, and it helps to consider the type of information you're looking for. Or, if you're adventuresome, you can just click around. Let's take a quick look at the 8 areas. Think of the Home tab as all about the Guild. Here's where you'll find information about the Guild, articles about One Name studies, and how to get started with your One Name study. There's videos on topics relating to One Name studies, as well as links to additional videos on YouTube channels. There's information about the application for membership and the Guild shop, where you can purchase books, software, past journals, and Guild branded items. Think of the Member Number tab as all about you. Do you need to check your details or make changes to them? Do you want to register a study or add or edit surname interests? Would you like to join the members website project? Do you need to renew your membership for the coming year? Or would you like to visit the members room? It has quick links to many of the services that you're going to want to check out. Every member of the Guild should take advantage of the My Details tab, and we should consider it kind of like an annual checkup. The items to check on are listed at the right. Your profile is your opportunity to share information about your study, and you can share as much or as little as you want. This is a great place to include links to any of your websites or blogs, and to ask interested people to get involved with your One Name study. Do be sure to include other surname interests. I receive emails from those with information about my surnames of interest, and they found me through the surname interests. Renewals for subscriptions are due at the start of the Guild year, which is November 1. So I'm sure you all got a notice just a few weeks ago. Now, there are several ways to pay, and all the information about rates and methods of payment can be found at memberships renewals. And just recently, the members room has been updated. If you're looking for how to do something or where something is, check out the new members room. With areas and links, you can now click directly through to whatever it is that you're looking for. Areas include self-service, member services, news and events, forums, resources and information, the Guild indexes, and team rooms and post holders. Now think of the Studies tab as all about surnames and other member studies. Do you want to search the Guild register? Do you want to get links to members registered websites? And I'll give you a little hint here. I've been visiting a number of those sites to see how others have set up their websites before I get started with my own. It's really helpful. Perhaps you want to check out other surname interests, or you're finally getting around to putting together your profile page and you need a bit of help. Well, it's all available at the Studies tab. Think of the News tab as finding out what's new with the Guild. Whether it's general news, that could be persons of interest, notices of meetings, seminars, webinars, the happenings in DNA, surname research, technology, or just basically what the Guild's up to. Regional news, the place for regional reps to keep up with their members on a local level, the committee news, the chairman's newsletters, and although these are sent out to members via email, they're also maintained on the website for easy viewing. And finally, media releases, where we share news of the Guild with the community at large. If you want to catch up with what's happening in the Guild, be sure to check out the News tab. Now think of the Forums tab as all about where members connect online. You can find out where the Guild is on social media and mailing lists and how to use those various forums. And if you have any suggestions for the Guild, be sure to visit the suggestion board. All suggestions are submitted to the committee for discussion, and then responses are posted at the board. Start a new suggestion or add your voice to one that's already at the board. It's an easy way to make your voice heard. Think of the Events tab as all about monthly, quarterly, annual, and special events. So whether it's the annual conference or quarterly seminars or monthly webinars, or if there's an exhibit, a booth, or a table at any family history event that the Guild is hosting or attending, you can learn more about it here. Think of the Resources tab as all about finding Guild treasure. The Guild Wiki and the DNA Wiki are great sources of information and links. The Guild Journal is online, and it's also available to read in PDF format. The Guild indexes and links to member websites can also be found here. And the Guild resources are an excellent way to learn more about how to work on, publish, and preserve your one-name study. If you need the Guild banner or logo to use on your website or blog, the images are available here, as well as information about the administration of the Guild. At the Guild Information and Administration tab, we've made it easy to look for specific information about various administrative matters. It's simply another way to find what you're looking for at the Guild website. Now, this is especially helpful if you want to keep up with what committee's doing or understand Guild policies and procedures. If you're interested in volunteering with the Guild, you can learn about the various postholder positions. If you need to fill out any Guild forms, maybe for expenses, nominations, or the infamous data protection form, the links to those forms and more are here. Think of the Help tab as all about answers. Have you forgotten your password? Do you need to contact a post holder or a committee member? Do you need help with the website? Are you interested in volunteering with the Guild? Then check out the Help tab for answers to your questions and links to contacts. And remember that you can always search the website. The search box is always found in the upper left-hand corner. Are you looking for some of the other Guild websites? Did you even know there are other Guild websites? Do you need to contact the Guild via email, post, or telephone? Someone is always ready to respond to your mail or call. Do you want to check out what's happening on social media? You simply click on the icon and go directly to our online social presence. The bottom banner is on every page of the website, and you're simply a click away from interacting with the Guild whenever you need us. Now, I wanted to mention that the journal is online, and non-members can read any journal that's over 3 years old. Obviously, members can read all of the journals online. And when you open the journal in your own PDF reader, know that you can download it, annotate it, and save it on your computer. I find that really helpful to make a note of all of those types of things. And I'll also point out that there's a really great index to the journal at that page that I just showed you. So you can look up specific articles or specific authors that you're interested in. And now I'm going to turn things over to Alan Morehouse, who's with me today in Seattle, which is quite a change as he's come all the way over from the UK. But I don't think he came all the way over just to attend this webinar. We'll be just one moment.
Thanks very much, Tessa. I started my genealogy more than 40 years ago. I know it's hard to think that I could be that old. That was back in 1976 when my paternal grandfather died. And at the funeral, my aunt entered his death in the old Morehouse family Bible, and that's what got us going. My aunt drew out a family tree and would send me off to London with research tasks. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I was just looking for the information she wanted. Over time, with my aunt doing the Morehouse line and my mother's cousin, the Robinson line, I started on my maternal grandmother's Atkinson family, and her mother was Jane Farmery. Jane was born in 1863 at Swallow near Grimsby in Lincolnshire. As was well established at the time, you joined a local family history society. I joined Lincolnshire Family History, and using their indexes and local parish registers, I was recording every farmery I found in case they might link in somewhere. Prompted by Anne Cole, another Guild member, she is now president of Lincolnshire Family History Society, I eventually joined the Guild in 1994 and registered my Farmery One Name study. My work schedule meant that I wasn't able to attend seminars really until the early 2000s, and one of my earliest was at the Nottingham DNA seminar in May 2007. Shortly after this, I was invited in early 2008 to join SEMSUB, which is the Seminar Organising Committee. Since 2012, I've handled bookings for all the seminars, and since 2016, conferences as well, as if I've got all the time in the world. Holding seminars is part of the Guild's education remit with the Charity Commission. Seminars are held 4 times each year, and we aim to move the location around the country for the benefit of the wider membership. We very much take note of member suggestions for themes of what the seminar could be about. We assign a member of the SEMSUB to lead a particular seminar, select a venue, ideally relevant to the theme. For example, the recent Across the Water seminar was held at the Waterways Museum at Ellesmere Port. Sometimes we return to tried and tested venues. Again, we were at Beecham College at Oadby in Leicester for the DNA seminar back in October, and we were there a couple of years back for the website seminar as well. Locations need good transport links, and whilst we aim to be within reach of public transport, especially a train station, we do have to recognise the reality that most people drive, and central locations will often incur car park charges for those people, and often tend to be the more expensive venues, and often will not allow us to provide our own catering, all of which increases the seminar ticket price. So we've got a real sort of fine balance as to where we actually hold our seminars and which locations. Often we will get requested to repeat a previous seminar in a different part of the country. It's not always easy to transfer and repeat a whole seminar, particularly due to where the speakers of the previous seminar are actually located and how easy it is or difficult to get them to travel completely the opposite side of the country. Increasingly now, the Friday night meet up over dinner for delegates attending of the seminar on the Saturday is becoming more and more popular. And at the recent DNA seminar, we actually had 32 people sit down for dinner. So a great opportunity to network and to meet other delegates the day before the seminar. Where possible, we will film seminars so that, you know, for the members who are a long distance away or are unable to travel, they can actually sort of, you know, view the recordings in the comfort of their own home. But that relies again on our volunteer Bob Cumberbatch being available to do the filming, and also on the willingness or otherwise of a specific speaker to actually be filmed. And where many of our speakers are professional speakers, they're not always willing to be filmed, so that, you know, because their seminar is their living. But if you don't come to a seminar, one of the key things you are really missing out on is the networking outside of the actual formal sessions. And as someone has commented recently, the level of chit chat volume that you will, you know, find over the lunchtime or the coffee breaks, you know, is really indicative that people are engaging with other members and having that networking experience. As has been mentioned, our big event for next year is the conference, which is our 40th anniversary conference, the Guild having been founded in 1979. The Guild was born, or at least conceived, at a meeting in Leicester, so it's fitting to return there next year. We've chosen the recently refurbished Leicester Marriott Hotel on the outskirts of the city, just off the M1 motorway near Foss Park, as our venue. You enter into a very bright and airy 7-storey atrium, and all the events for the conference will be in the Grove Suite at the far end of the atrium. All bedrooms have 1 king size or 2 queen size beds, so no worry that if you're a single delegate that you're going to be put in a small single bed in your bedroom. There's a swimming pool and fitness suite to take advantage outside of the formal conference sessions. We've also secured a reduced room rate for the Thursday night and the Sunday night for those delegates that wish to arrive a day early or perhaps stay a day later. The theme is past, present and future as we look back over the past 40 years of the Guild, take stock of where we are now, but also look forward to what the future might hold. new members and first-time attendees are particularly welcome, and we already have a significant number of first-timers booked, which is great. Non-members are also welcome, and there's a reduced rate for non-delegate partners sharing the room of a delegate. The early bird package prices are available until January the 27th, 2019, and booking officially closes for the whole conference on the 24th of February. So what will you find at the conference? We've put together a full program on the Friday to really entice all delegates to arrive and participate in the full weekend. There's an optional visit to the Richard III Centre for an introductory talk and self-guided tour, concluding with seeing the actual gravesite of the King before you move across the road to Leicester Cathedral, where we've arranged a guided tour, including the actual tomb where Richard was reinterred. Places are limited and booking details should be announced in the next week or so on the website and by email to delegates who've already booked for the conference. Back at the hotel, we have a session for those new to One Name Studies, followed by a general help desk before there's a gathering for any first-time conference delegates to really help you orientate yourself about the weekend. Perhaps, if you've never been to a conference before, it can be a little bit daunting, particularly if you don't know many people who are also going to be there. But, we hope that will sort of be a real icebreaker for you. After dinner, we have an Elizabethan extravaganza to entertain, and no Friday evening of conference will be the same without the quiz. I'm told that the quizmaster always manages to find some weird and obtuse questions and stands no nonsense or dissent from the participants, and does threaten to deduct points in such cases, though I've never actually seen this to be the case. And I'm the quizmaster, if anybody didn't pick up on my humour and sarcasm there. On the Saturday, the conference starts proper with our formal AGM, which will be followed by our headline speaker, Dr. Nick Barrett, on the future of family history. The day culminates with the 40th anniversary banquet, which is an opportunity to put on your glad rags and have fun. As we did at the conference centre, the Southampton conference, we plan to offer a choice menu on all three courses of the meal, and this will go out to all booked delegates in due course. We can, of course, accommodate all possible dietary requirements if you'd like to advise us what those are when the menu choice request comes out. Then on the Sunday, the day really finishes with the final celebrations of the Guild's 40th anniversary conference, including tea and cake at the end of the day. So we hope we'll see many of you booked at the conference. If you can't attend a seminar or a conference due to the distance, we would encourage you to take advantage of any regional meetings held near you, or perhaps help out at a Guild stand at a local family history event or fair. Or even if there's no Guild presence at one of those events, if you've got a local event or a fair that you are going to attend, by all means help spread the word about the Guild at those events. Thank you.
All right, and now we're going to turn things over to Julie Goucher, who's going to discuss a few member benefits and the Pharaohs course.
So hello everyone, I'm Julie Goucher. I am the tutor for the introduction course to One Name Studies for Pharaohs Tutoring and Teaching. Helen Osborne, who teaches the advanced course, is the owner of the business. So a little bit about me as I start. So I started researching my family history back in the late 1980s. My mum was English, my dad was Sicilian, so I have a real interest in Sicilian and Italian surnames and genealogy. One of the things that Tessa mentioned at the start was that I have 2 studies registered, which represent my parents. Both studies are fairly large, and they will both most certainly outlive me. But the one thing that I find fascinating about surnames is that we all have one, unless you live in Iceland, in which case you might not have a surname. But we all have a surname, and yet very few people actually focus on the surname. But it's actually a really great way of being able to extend your understanding of how a surname has kind of started its way, what its I'm just trying to find the right word to express, really, of how you're able to start off your research and your understanding of the surname itself, the types of surnames. So it's looking at all of that in that you're expanding it outwards. You're giving yourself almost a 360-degree view of not just your line, but perhaps a number of other lines. So I'm just having some technical trouble with my screen and my mouse, who does not want to behave today. I think it's because it's way too cold in the northeast of England. Okay, so I'm hoping you can see all this. Paul, can you just double check for me, please? And can you see if my screen is showing correctly? Well, I assume Paul can hear me, but I hope it's okay. So the Introduction to Unnamed Studies course runs over 5 weeks. It talks about, and we look at about the surname studies in particular, how you perhaps operate one, how surnames are formed and their history, core records, information gathering, analysis, and then just piecing it all together, and the practicalities of running a study. And what I always say to any student who's done the introduction course is that decide on your aims, what do you want to achieve, and just consider how you're going to keep all this material. I'm a lover of using TNG, and one of the benefits that the Guild operate is the ability to preserve your study. My site uses TNG. I keep most of my material in either a spreadsheet, which I kind of use as almost a train station effectively. So everyone is in my little spreadsheet, which is the train station, and once I'm piecing them together in building family groups, then they're added to my genealogical program. I personally use Roots Magic, and then I get a GEDCOM out of Roots Magic and upload it to TNG. So it's almost as if my people are in transit. So I use the train station analogy quite a lot. Anyone who's ever heard me talk about one-name studies will have often heard me mention that. The way that I do it, the reason I do it that way is because I want to build family groups. With a large study, and I have 2 of them, although they're both very, very different, there are butchers and Orlandos on pretty much every part of the globe. The amount that you get in a particular state, county, country will vary, and they're there for a different reason. So I've often worked my way from a spreadsheet by gathering my information, building my family groups. I tend to start with a marriage, and I explain why through the course why I tend to start with the marriage, but lots of people start with the census. The one thing I will say to anyone who's considering looking at a one-name study or surname research, or is already working on it, is that there is no right or wrong way. You could put 3,000 of us all together and not one of us will do it in exactly the same way. We learn from each other, and that goes back to what Alan was saying about the networking at conferences, seminars, but it's not just about the physical aspect of it. It's also about the connections that you make through when I teach the course, the students that I meet along the way, the interaction that we have in the group, the Guild Facebook group, for example, on the Guild email forum. All those ways are enabling us to expand our knowledge and to work through certainly the exercises that you see on the One Name Studies course as you gather your information. The course is run over 5 weeks, and each week there is a online chat where I double check with the students how they found the previous week's work, do they have any questions, and we discuss other matters relating to one-name studies and just piecing it all together. In some ways, working on a one-name study is a little bit like going to a used car showroom and making a decision on which car you're going to buy. Is you're going to get in them all and you're going to try them all out, and then you're going to make a decision. And doing a one-name study is pretty much in the same way, is that you will examine the different software that you're using, different methods, your aims of your study will perhaps evolve over time as you become more experienced. And no one registers a one-name study with the Guild and has probably a mountain of material. I certainly didn't. I started with what took me 3 years to achieve, but I managed to download it from FreeBMD in about 3 minutes. I started with what we have here as the indexes for England and Wales of birth, deaths and marriages. But I only started with those marriages and information because in those days there was no internet. So accessing material from the United States in terms of my Italian family or Italy was very much harder to come by. Of course, the internet has revolutionized how we research and has changed a great deal the way and the information that you can access. So it's really, really useful. And so you, with the One Name Study and the Guild, is that you're able to piece together all those strands and bring it together so that you develop your study. Now, the advanced course runs typically once a year. The introduction course I usually run twice a year. This year I've run it 3 times. The reason I ran it 3 times this year was because the first course I had over 20 people on it. And there's sometimes it's great to have a large number of people. I prefer the smaller groups, but I don't mind having a larger group because the interaction is always there. But with the advanced course, you're expanding your information and your depth of understanding a bit further. You're looking at understanding the theory and practice of a one-name study, so building on what you've hopefully learned in the previous course. Looking at the interdisciplinary studies and how a one-name study overlaps with other disciplines. So looking at migration, the economics, expanding the information and almost setting the scene for the people that will be in your study. Looking at a surname case study, being able to look at the data that you've downloaded and researched from the record offices or you've accessed from any of the main organisations online to build your family groups. But more than just building the groups together, giving them some context and then taking some what you've learned and perhaps putting that together into an article. And that might be into the Guild Journal. It might be that you write a regular blog or that you have articles that you write that you upload onto your website. You can do any of those things. For me, the really important thing is I think for doing a one-name study, and not just because I teach the introduction course, but I think that it gives you a really good grounding into understanding what a study is, what the commitments are, and why the Guild have a requirement that you aim to be global. The reason that you aim to be global is because if you just have a narrow focus study and you have migration, you could easily miss people. And I don't know how big Alan and Tessa's studies are. I know Paul's is quite a large study. Orlando and Butcher are quite large studies. Certainly with Orlando, if I didn't focus on the migration aspect, I would lose a great number of Orlandos because of the amount of migration there was from Italy, not just in the sort of 1850s and then the turn of the 1900s, but also after the Second World War. My own dad came to England after the Second World War. So then you have this another wave of migration. And understanding those waves will give you some context to your study. So it's a bit like putting together a scrapbook. You get all your bits out on the table and you plan how you're going to do it. And doing a one-name study is no different. And that's why the courses exist. As I said, I teach the introduction course. It runs typically twice a year. The next intake will be around February time, and the advanced course, I believe, will run again next May. In terms of Guild benefits, the course will introduce you to a number of the benefits. I will talk quite a lot through the course around the Members Website Project because I think it's a fantastic benefit. The wiki is an excellent benefit. The DNA pages are excellent. They are available on the website. There are a number of pages that are available to the public, And then there is more on the back end if you are a member. So it's really important that you can, if you're going to become a guild member, that you take advantage of all those benefits the guild has to offer. And also the other thing worth mentioning is the guild indexes. And I teach this to the students, is that, especially if you've got a large study, is to utilise the indexes to help you build your marriages up, because from a marriage you can construct a family. Just because with a census, you of course get lots of variables. You get boarders and visitors and servants, and whilst they're great to have and you want to track them, sometimes you get too much information and you need to do it in a methodical manner. So it's all about spreading the word, building your learning, and getting the word out there about your study. Because if you don't tell other people that you are researching whatever surname that is, whether it's Farmery, Featherstone, Keogh, Orlando, Butcher, or any of the other studies that are registered, no one else will know you're there. So you need to be where people are, and we live in the 21st century and pretty much everything is online these days. So there's online learning. There are weekly chats with fellow students and the tutor. The course runs over 5 or 6 weeks. So the introduction is over 5 weeks and the advanced course is over 6 weeks. There is tutor support. So any student can either use the online forum on the Pharos platform or write to the tutor. Helen and I equally give our students as much support and information and guidance as we possibly can. And then there's an opportunity to have the work assessed if you're doing the advanced course. And then those articles can be published into the journal. I've undertaken, obviously I've did the Pharos course, the introduction course, before I taught it, but the first time I ran the course, I used the time to go through the course and just focus it to my Italian research. And even though I've been researching for a long, long time, I still learned something. I did all the exercises that I'd asked my students to do, and actually as if I was a student, and I still came out the other end of a 5-week course and had found something new to look at. Because like with anything, you look at something and you don't immediately always recall something that you found, or sometimes you forget what you've seen and you go back. So the courses are a great way to build a foundation, and is supported by the Guild in terms of if you are not a Guild member and you want to take the Pharos course, you have membership allocated to you. And if you are already a Guild member and you decide to do the course, there is a discount for the course. It's one of the many benefits that the Guild offers in terms of making sure our members have as much information as they possibly can so they can go and build their great studies, and they can enjoy the networking and sharing of information that being a Guild member offers. And that is me done. I will now quickly pass the screen back. If you can see that DNA screen, that's exactly one of the pages I was talking about. It's a great set of pages on the website. You can certainly access those if you are a non-member, and there is more at the back end if you are a member once you've logged in. So back to you, Tessa.
All right. I did want to mention a couple of pages that you're going to see if you go to the website. And Julie just talked about the DNA wiki. There's also the regular wiki. The members website project is another really helpful page to go take a quick look at to see what the benefit is involved there. Here's the Guild Wiki. The thing I find the most helpful about the Guild Wiki is that if you're looking up a new country, for instance, I don't have any family members when I do my own personal history who are from Scotland, but there are Keoghs from Scotland. And so one of the things that I first did was I went to the familysearch.org site, and then I went to the Guild Wiki on Scotland. So there is specific pages for each of the countries, or for many of the countries. If you have anything to add, if you're very familiar with a particular country, you might want to volunteer to add to the Guild Wiki. But if you are looking for information, this is a really great stop to find out about a specific country and to get those links. And Julie talked in depth about the Pharaohs courses, but I did want to point out that when you do go to the Pharaohs Tutors website to sign up for the course, this is the type of thing you're going to see. You're going to see basic information, when it's available, what the cost is, any of that information you're going to need to sign up. So that I just kind of wanted to give you a heads up. I took the Introduction to One Name Studies before I joined the Guild because I wanted to learn how to do it. I wasn't sure that I wanted to be a member of the Guild, but I wanted to take that course. And through that course, I really came to understand how helpful and how Pharaohs and the Guild kind of work in concert as far as the education and resources. And so now I'm going to, before we get to renewals and the webinar series theme, I wanted to give Alan an opportunity to tell you a little bit about the forthcoming, as I think how you say it, as opposed to upcoming, as we Americans do, seminars that are in 2019 and maybe even in 2020. We're kind of winging it a little bit today because I've never had anyone here with me when I've done this, and so we're passing the headset back and forth. So if you bear with us, I think Alan's ready to talk about that just a little bit.
Okay, our next seminar is in February on the 16th at the National Archives in Kew and is entitled the Medieval and More Seminar. We're working, and we have worked very closely with the National Archives to arrange this seminar to look at some of their current projects, and that includes medieval material. So we'll have an update on the Manorial Documents Register. We'll look at the 1939 register. Obviously, that's not medieval, which is why it's medieval and more. There's the new PRO 23 seals molds database, medical case sheets project, Ward 2 project, the Court of Wards and Liveries, and the Pauper Letter projects. As I say, 16th of February next year at the National Archives in Kew. Then following from that will be in May 2019, Amersham in Buckinghamshire, we've got a seminar entitled From Cradle to Grave. So we'll be looking at poverty, illegitimacy, child migration, mental health, and care in old age. All things which touch the lives of our ancestors at some stage in their existence. So we'll look at some of the institutions and the movements involved, workhouse, mother and baby homes, child migration movements, and the establishment of lunatic asylums and almshouses. Then in August 2019, we'll be up in Yorkshire at Selby to look at maritime aspects of Yorkshire seminar. This venue is ideal for the subject being situated on the major arteries of the Yorkshire waterways and ports. We will assemble specialist speakers on maritime aspects of the region. Like a lot of our seminars, it will particularly appeal to all family and social historians as well as to one-namers. And the final seminar for 2019 is Industry in the Potteries region, and that will be held at Whitmore near Newcastle-under-Lyme, very much in the heart of the potteries, just south of Stoke-on-Trent. So we look at a number of industries of the North Midlands, as it wasn't just pottery in the area, and many other industries existed, including salt mines. Details of all the Guild seminars are on the Guild website on the seminar page, and for the seminars going into 2020, because we are always planning about 18 months to 2 years ahead. So where dates and venues are confirmed, those will be also detailed on the seminar page in the website. Okay, thank you.
All right, back to renewals and the 2019 webinar series theme. So earlier in this webinar, I mentioned where you can find information about renewing your membership on the Guild website. And I'm going to give you a hint, it's at the Member Number tab. Now, personally, I think that £18 per year is quite reasonable. That's what I took a look at to see what the renewal rate was. And that converts to roughly $24 US per year, or $2 US per month. And with the journal, the recordings of seminars and webinars, and the assistance and interaction from other one-name researchers, I consider it a bargain. And it's certainly cheaper than one Starbucks coffee each month. The value of our membership is directly related to whether we take advantage of everything the Guild has to offer. So in order to get your money's worth, you need to use the Guild's benefits and services. So definitely spend some time at the website checking out each of those tabs. And now, with a bit of a drum roll, we have members in many countries studying surnames found in many countries. Most of us are comfortable researching in our home countries and in our own language. But oftentimes our surnames have traveled the world, and many of our members have asked for help learning how best to research in other countries. So in 2019, the Guild plans to stamp your One Name Study passport as we host monthly webinars and travel around the world with our One Name Studies. Our first 12 stops, by popular request from a survey that I put together last year, are shown here. So pack up your One Name Study as we begin our travels in January 2019. And now let's open things up for questions, Paul.
We don't have any.
We don't have any. This has happened to me twice. All right, let's give people a few moments. I don't know if Julie wants to jump in with anything or if Paul wants to mention anything. We were hoping to have John Mark, who's the editor of the journal, join us, but he wasn't able to come today. So I mentioned a couple of things about the journal and that you can read it, but I'm hoping to get a short, maybe 5-minute presentation from him that I record and put online later.
And I think I'm just going to echo what you commented about getting your money's worth. I certainly paid a larger subscription to another organisation and don't get anywhere near as much benefit from it as I do the Guild. Now, I say that, excluding the fact that if you just ignore the fact that I'm a Pharos tutor, that I'm a Guild trustee, I'm just a regular member, and I would certainly pay easily double what I do pay to the Guild on the basis that I get a lot of enjoyment from being a Guild member. And I think that having that amount of knowledge within our membership is amazing. I cannot think of any time a member has asked on the email mailing list a question and somebody hasn't answered it. Alan, can you ask Alan whether he would agree? I know you're sharing a headset, Tessa, but I think probably he would actually agree with that. Paul, what's your view on that?
I was just going to show them this screen.
Yep. The surname cloud. Is that what you're...
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Look at this, but for instance, if you put Smith in that box and look how many sites you can find Smiths on, quite amazing. And if you look at the totals, you can actually do One Name Study on a Smith nearly.
These are from members' information. Like if you can explain that, someone has the Pepler or the Harlow study they're working on, and those occurrences of the Smith name show up in their study. Is that correct?
Yeah. So that if I click that now, it will give me a link to all the Smiths in the Sprague project, and there's quite a few. There's 5 pages, in fact.
So basically what you're saying is with some One Name studies, other people have already done some of your work for you.
Yeah.
And you just need to go find it. That's great.
And that's open to everybody. You don't have to have a login, but it's at the bottom of every page we do there. So that's the page you need to click. Okay.
All right. And one other thing that I would mention, Wesley Johnston said that he gets to reading his journals later than, when they first arrive. And I would say I've gone back to some of the earlier journals, and for a lot of the methodology or how people have put their studies together or whatever, I don't think there's really a time issue. This isn't like reading Newsweek or Time where the news is old. I've found a lot of really helpful technology information even that's in some of the earlier ones. Paul, if you want to give the screen back to me, I just have a few more to get through since we don't have questions. All right. First, I want to thank our panelists for presenting today, especially Alan for making the trip over here to make my life a little easier. And second, I want to thank each of you for attending. I think we all learned something new, and I hope that we all take advantage of the services and benefits of our Guild membership. And for those of you attending today who are not members of the Guild, realize that many areas of our website are available using the drop-down menu, so we encourage you to take advantage of them and even consider joining us in the coming year. Now, doing surname research and taking on a one-name study can seem a bit overwhelming at times, but we do have a place online where we can pick up some knowledge, ask questions, share our joys and frustrations, and fine-tune our skills. Whether you use our website, engage with us on social media, use our indexes to add to your study, or publish and preserve your study at the members' website, know that the Guild will be here for you, as we have been for almost 40 years. Proud of our past efforts and looking forward to what's in store for one-name studies in the future, we are busy planning for 2019 and beyond.
We have a
thanks
question.
So much for joining us. All right, we have one question before we see you next year. What is it, Paul?
I think Julie's already mentioned it. When will the Ferrous introduction course be run? I think you said
it will be February. I'm in the middle of agreeing the date, but it will be February. It's usually around the second Tuesday, roughly, in February. So, yeah.
And if you do go on to the Ferrous website, and it's Ferrous Tutors, I want to say .com, but if you go onto Ferrous Tutors, you can look it up pretty easily on upcoming courses.
Yeah.
And one more, is there a local group in Seattle?
Today there is a local group in Seattle. There's two of us. No, there isn't, but what would be fine to do now that I've gotten back to town would be to see if some of the local members wanted to get together maybe this winter. That would be great. So I sent out a newsletter to all the USA membership in November, the beginning of the month, and I'll take a look for the West membership and see if we can do that.
And Amanda says that course, that Ferrous course, isn't listed on the website yet, which is why she asked.
Oh,
yeah, it's there, but it just doesn't have a date. Probably because I've only just got to the end of the October course, or the one that started about 5 weeks ago. So it will be around early February, about second week on the Tuesday. So
and one more question: when will the next webinar series start? And I think it's January.
It's going to start in January, and we're going to keep it on the third Tuesday of each month. And I will be putting together the entire series on the GoToWebinar, putting that preliminary information on. And then we will also have it on the Guild website in December. It's going to list by country what we're doing. Now, if you have any specific information or would like to speak on one of the webinars that we're doing next year, we're going to be putting out a presentations call. The other thing is, if you want to work on the webinars with any of us next year, that would be great too. Just get a hold of either me or Julie. I think you can contact us at marketing, right? Through the Guild.
Yeah, and one more question I can answer. Nick asks, do I understand correctly that one main benefit is you provide a WordPress page and a TNG? We do. Your profile page is a WordPress page, yes, and you can use that when you're a member to spread the word about your study, and you'll find it hits the front of any Google search if you put your name in and one name study. And you say TNG, well, we don't actually provide TNG. You've still got to buy a license, but we'll give you the web space to use it in. I think that answers that question.
And I do have a comment from Alan. He said if anyone's interested in joining the SemSub committee, you could go onto that volunteers page and check it out. There are a couple of things. One other one that I was going to mention is you should have all received a notice, but the Guild Wiki, they're looking for volunteers to work on that one or to help organize, I guess, to monitor that one as well. So with that, we're going to wrap it up on time. So that's great. That'll be a shorter time for me to edit and get it uploaded on the Guild site. This will be up, the recording, by Saturday. I'm hoping to get it done sooner, but it is Thanksgiving in the United States over this Thursday holiday weekend. But I will definitely have it up by Saturday. If you didn't get a chance to get the handouts, they will be with the recording. So if you miss that, don't worry about that. And
Tessa, just one thing before we go. And just on behalf of the committee, I'd like to say thank you, Tessa, for all the editing and keeping us all in check in terms of organising the webinars. Your professionalism is always wonderful. So thank you so much for doing that.
My pleasure. All right. I think we're finished, Paul.
Okay, I'll stop the recording.